Please.
Proceed.
So my reflection from last week, when we first started going through the themes, I was trying to think and trying to remember, and then I remembered to pull out my list of 34 that I have that are ranked. And I found that to be really helpful as you go through each one and you talk about to sort of look and see where I fall with each of those themes and how I relate to what you're talking about with the characteristics of each theme. So I recommend it. It just makes it more personal and then it's easier to connect.
That's wonderful feedback because it's making me realize for the first time, I do these every once in a while. I'll go through all the themes, maybe like once a year or something like that, not that often. So I forget that people really like it when they really just like the ability to go through and just listen to each one. But what makes it even more powerful is what you just said, because I was actually thinking about it today, because some of you don't have any of the thinking themes or the executing themes in your top 5. And I was thinking to myself, well, how would they keep themselves interested? Well, Laura's idea is exactly right. To see if you have your full 34, to see where it falls, then it all becomes relevant. Oh, that's a slower response than my number 1. You know, if you have 1 up here, down to 34 down here, you'd go, okay, that's where this one falls in my tumbler of 34 qualities. And I think it's really interesting for full self-awareness. So good call, Laura. Anything you want to add to that, or anybody else?
It was validating because I was feeling maybe like a little like I should have had some of those in my top 5, but then I looked and like there was one I think it was the includer, and I felt like as an instructional coach, includer should be in my top 5, and I was kind of feeling disappointed that it wasn't. And then when I looked at my 34, includers number 9, so it was right there. But when I was only thinking in terms of my top 5, I felt like I should have had that one. And then when I realized, oh, it was almost there. It was right there. It was number 9. It was reaffirming to me.
That's great. So great. Yes, really. And another thing too is, even if maybe includer was way down in your list, but including people is a really important thing to do, then the awareness of that. So I have includer number 34, and I work with young people, so I have to find other ways to manage that. And luckily I have individualization number 2. So it works differently. They work completely differently. But that awareness, I can maybe use individualizer to kind of serve includer functions. And this is why I look at all 34 themes at the level of purpose. Why do they exist? Because they all exist for a reason. And if I could learn the reason they exist, I could sort of, it may not be a native pattern for me, but I could find ways to address that purpose in other ways. So like empathy can be a way to include people. I mean, maybe we could look at all 34 themes as a way to say, how could I include people? How could achiever include people? You can look at your own top 5 and say, even though includer's a theme, and but the idea of inclusion is a concept in the world that matters. And that's why that theme is created in the first place. It wasn't created to be a theme. It was created to address the need in the world called inclusion, or the need in the world called activator, you know, the need in the world called empathy, the need in the world called strategy, harmony. You see, these are all different themes. Learning, these are all needs in the world. And we develop patterns to kind of go along with them. And then they rise to be the dominant patterns. Not any different from, are you left-handed dominant or right-handed dominant? You know, or neither, because that's a pattern too. Those are deep, deep patterns. And so are these things that we're calling the 34 themes. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, it really helps us get into what it means to be actually a person, a human in a way, because it's making me realize the degree to which we are patterned monkeys, primates. We operate on patterns. Now we're more than that. We are more than that. But a lot of us, a lot of what we are is that. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It is a thing. It is what allows us to survive on the crust of a planet called of this planet, which is what despite all our modernities, that's the core thing. It really does come down to life. This isn't a dress rehearsal. And so our patterns they come from a time when we weren't living in the mediated world, those patterns were developed in people going all the way back. So, how do they express themselves now is really how I see it. And when we go through them, that's just a way I look at it. These are deep, deep patterns. So any other comments before we get into it? Or let's just get into it and then comments will arise. So any comment you have will fit. I wanted to show you in the document generator, in case you ever see how we create our diagrams, you have an account, you can go to profiles and you can look up different profiles and do things with them. This is where I would create the documents. But I wanted to show you that I have a group and it's called themes. And these are the members of that group. And so I'm just going in here to pull up the profiles. So do you guys want to talk about the thinking themes first or the executing themes first? The executing themes. I hear you, because that's how you're all about getting things done. Nobody said that, but I know. So we'll pull up executing or execution. There we go. So now I could pull up several reports. So first I'm going to pull up, I didn't use this report much last time, but I'm going to pull up the signature themes report just because, I could also show you the top 5 diagram. Nope, not that one. And we can go side by side too. Like I could say Achiever has these 5 bullet points. First let's look at the diagram because it does tell the story. In her hand is this clipboard and it has a to-do list on it with check marks. That's guiding everything. In the backpack, I have, did I show you these little doll versions? So yeah. Our graphic designer has a friend who's also creative and made these. So this is Achiever. That's her backpack. It comes off even. You can take off the backpack. I don't want to do it. I'm too lazy. But what's really cool, I'm not too lazy for this. There's a little snap and you open the snap and there's something in the backpack. And in the backpack is a star. Which, that's kind of, anybody have Achiever that can relate to that idea? That's what it is. I'm collecting accomplishments. That's all I'm doing. And, it's not that I want to do things to get things done. That's how people know me. But I'm doing things to get things done because it's like chopping away, what I need to get through to the accomplishments. That's why I get things done. And so so people are like, oh, you're just an achiever. You just get things done in cliche. But I every once in a while stop to say, you're a really hard worker. Because often that is what achievers do. They're hard workers. And they just know how to just get themselves going. That term, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, is a great achiever term. It doesn't get associated with it that much. Oh, you're just a get things done person. But it is, I'm going for the accomplishments. I'm going for the stars. I'm not going to just get things done. I'm not here to just do a to-do list. I'm here to make stuff happen, So it's a relentless need for accomplishment. So it's like, once I get one degree, I'm going to want another. I'm looking for what's next. I'm looking to climb the mountains, but the mountains in our age are office buildings. So anyway, yeah. But when we come over here to the signature themes report, these are the descriptions that come from Gallup's book. I just put it in a different format. You can get the exact same report on Gallup's website. It just doesn't look as cool. It's like they take up 4 pieces of paper to do it. And we got it on the back-to-back. We got colorized. It's because their colors matter so much to them. I'm just kidding. All right. I'm not mad. Achiever, this is the other way. I look at it, it's the image, and then you go in sentence by sentence. Your achiever theme helps explain your drive. I don't have the drive, so it doesn't explain my drive. I don't have this theme, but for achievers, you do. I know it's something special in you that I don't have, I mean, not like you do at least. Achievers describe a constant need for achievement. You feel as if every day starts at zero. And this began to explain it to me. Oh, there's a clock and it starts at zero. And by the end of the day, you must achieve something tangible in order to feel good about yourself. And by every day, it's every single day. It's weekends even. I'm like, what? You feel this even on the weekends? Like you can't even take, because during the week, I used to be able to get things done, but not on weekends. Okay. Yeah, on vacations, you can't really relax. Sit down and watch a movie? I don't think so. I don't think so. Not unless I could fold some laundry or get something done, because I got points to score. So no matter how much you may feel you deserve a day of rest, if a day passes, it's this feeling now. This is the pattern in you. It's an infection almost when you read it this way. Unless you have some form of achievement, no matter how small, you're going to feel dissatisfied. Well, that ain't, it makes me feel a little, pity. I would say empathy, but I don't empathize with this at all. No, you bring this on yourself. No, I'm just kidding. You have an internal fire burning inside you. All right. It pushes you to do more, to achieve more. And after each accomplishment is reached, the fire dwindles for a moment, but very soon rekindles, forcing you toward the next thing. It's relentless. What do they say? They use the word relentless in here somewhere already? Here it is right here. Your relentless need for achievement might not be logical. It might not even be focused. Depends on your other themes, but it's always in you. That's what people got to understand. You got this fire in you. Yeah, as an achiever, you must learn to live with this whisper of discontent. It does have its benefits. It brings you the energy you need to work long hours. Yeah, achievers, you will not outwork an achiever unless they also have a learner right next to it. Then look out, because learner is like when we get to the other side, when we talk about the thinking themes, learner is to me the mental version of achiever. It brings you energy to work long hours. It has that jolt that you can always count on to get you focused on new tasks, new challenges. It's the power supply that causes you to set pace and define the levels of productivity for your work. Yeah, achievers, are the upper limits of productivity. Yeah. So what I wanted to show you was what it looks like if we pull up, one report and look at it and the visual, and then we pull up Gallup's own thing. And then I'm not going to do this with every theme today, but I want to show you then how you could use reports, because we haven't done this yet. I pull up one called the theme anatomy. And this is one that we created. Gallup hasn't even seen it, so it's not approved. So you have to decide for yourself on that. And it takes a little longer to pull up. But what I do is I take the theme anatomy and I use that to describe each theme, starting at the center, the purpose. And then that purpose creates needs in you, which we read a little bit of both in that achiever description. Gallup doesn't just talk about needs or purpose specifically. They talk about this blue circle. This is where Gallup comes in. Gallup describes the themes as patterns. That's why I started with that today. It wasn't just random. I mean, patterns is at the core of all of this. And I'm pulling that out. I'm highlighting it because I don't think other people do that. I don't know of other people that do. I haven't. It's me that's like going, oh, wow, this is the aha. StrengthsFinder is a doorway. Yes, it's a personality assessment and it's great, but it's a doorway into humans and our layers of complexity. Because when you work with high school students like I do, you start to see the complexity kicking in and they don't know what to do with it. There's not a lot of guidance. And I'm trying to show them, okay, here's a lot of what's going on. You got these patterns in you. And these patterns describe how you think. What do you think about? and then how you feel, what feels good to you and what feels bad to you. And other people with different themes, it's going to be very different. So you're in this kaleidoscope of personalities, and yet you're so outward looking that you're going to get confused by the kaleidoscope. You know, there's all these different flavors of people in there, and these are your dominant flavors. So it's all right. And you're not going to mix and match with everybody as easily. So, you know, here's your patterns. And I think they find that helpful and grounding. You know, that's one of the things I really appreciate about this. Any reactions to that so far? I mean, there's more I want to say about I'll get back into the theme anatomy in a second, but any reactions to any of this so far? Looking at the reports, you know, kind of gives you a little journey through each theme. And this is a good way to learn them. You know, this is my leave behind, you know, like this is how I learned the themes. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want other people to do this. In order to use StrengthsFinder well, we have to be able to learn the full vocabulary of 34 themes. It's an alphabet. And and the alphabet is reminding me of exactly that. The whole education system is built around patterns. How do we learn language? We need an alphabet. We need letter combinations. We need the physical mechanics of actually handwriting the letters, although I don't think that's done as much anymore. It's the physical mechanics of typing the letters. It's funny to watch students hold a pen now, you know, it's like, what is this contraption? So school is teaching the patterns. It recognizes that that's a core aspect of what it means to be a human is patterns. And if we can harness them and develop them, then a human can read. And if a human can read, then a human can, you know, have wider thoughts and all of these things. And this is the society we live in now. I mean, we built it on patterns. So I think patterns is really important, really, really important. All right. Coming back to theme anatomy then, the Gallup describes the themes as patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that can be productively applied. That's their definition. And I think it's really good. And it's really important. The word can is actually one of the most important words in there. Patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that can be productively applied, but they also cannot. That's the other side of it. We can counterproductively apply these patterns if we're not careful. And that's what we need to learn so we can self-manage. And we want to teach students that. Be self-aware so you can self-manage. Self-manage what? Their patterns. That's what we're talking about. Your pattern is the pattern for me is I was talkative. What is a pattern? A pattern is not an event. An event happens one time. A pattern is when the event happens over time, repeatedly. It's a series of events happening over and over again. That's what a pattern is. And why do patterns happen? Well, it depends. Do you have a carpeting or rug in your house that has sort of like that well-worn walk-through kind of line through it where you could see? Yeah, that's a pattern. If you walk on that rug once, it doesn't do that. But when you do it over time and time and time, that becomes a pattern. That's what we're talking about. That's what the themes are. They're the worn pathways in your rug or in your, you know, in the grass or whatever. That's what these are. They're patterns of what? Not patterns of walking from the door to the kitchen. They're patterns of how do I think? What do I normally do when I hear things? I have patterns around words. I do a lot of word play. And you probably know other people like that, but not everybody's that way. It's patterns for me. It's something I do. It's a thinking pattern in my head. And ideation might have a lot to do with it. It might be something that goes along with the ideation thing, but those are patterns. And so teaching this, not just as, oh, what flavor of person are you from this little personality assessment? You know, that's how, I don't mean to diminish it, but it's like, that's how most people kind of treat it. Oh, tee hee ha ha, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, yeah, but there's like so much more in here. if couples really like took this, they could see each other in new ways, you know. It will clue them, oh, I didn't know you had this pattern in you. I would, I mean, it doesn't surprise me now that it's been named, but I didn't have a name for it before. And so this is what happens. All right, I'm saying a lot of things and I'm only at Achiever, but I'm weaving together, you know, kind of a way to dig more deeply. And since Achiever is the #1 most common theme, I think like 32% of the population have it. What does that mean? What does that say about humans? You know, it's a pattern of I mean, it's a pattern of humanity that there's such a dominant achiever thing. And it's also the first alphabetically. One day I'll show you, I produced a music video. I hired somebody off of Fiverr to make a little song about StrengthsFinder and the 34 themes. So if I could find it, I'll show it for you someday. I think it's hilarious. I play it up like, oh, I think it's cool, but I know it's campy and dorky, but that's part of what makes it cool. I'll see if I can show it to you. I mean, if we had a break, I would then go and find it, but it usually takes me a while to find it. But I can wrap it to you if you want. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do it. All right. Any reactions to what I said so far about like, as we delve into, because I'm not, like I said, I can't do this for all 34 themes. So you might even have to tell me, I want to see the theme and ad. You tell me which report to see on it if you want me to do a deeper look. But any reactions to the pattern stuff? Quiet group. I must have either lost you or you're just like, you really want these. All right. So now we got 3 reports pulled up. Let's go to Arranger, which is one that Heather has like as her top like 6, I think. Yeah, 7. Okay. But it's so loud that we talk about it all the time. Like this shows up all the time. And this is how I wanted to show it on a tightrope, all these things. Look at the face, not a problem. I shuffle and rearrange all the time, juggle multiple demands, create order out of complexity, fits together for the best configuration. And that to me is the phrase for Arranger, optimal configuration. That's what they want. It's like, I don't want too much. I don't care about quantity. I want optimal. Too much is overkill, and that's not good. I don't appreciate that. I want just the right combination. And it's in their head. It's an inner mental thing. Any of you have this in your top 5? Arranger? 4 for you, Bo? All right. Yeah. Do you resonate with this one? Ashley, do you see it? Yeah, go ahead. You want to say it? Yeah.
Yes. And it's funny because as we were having more children, it kicked in even more. You got your schedules and you have your different schools that you got to go through. Now we have kids in 3 or 4 different schools now. So yeah, he's really been getting better with the Arranger.
But what's it like inside of you? What's the Arranger like for you when it's happening, when you're in that state?
I didn't even really realize it until you start going through what you're able to do. When I was directing sports at the Y, a lot of different things going on, but it's just like it says, you just move the pieces around and you do the best you can with what you've got. But like we talked about last week, to me, that just comes natural. And so you would think that everybody thinks that way if you have the talents that I have. And that's not the case. And that's the beauty of taking this deeper dive. You possess these talents. Don't expect everybody else to, or you're going to be disappointed and frustrated.
Right.
And it's funny because I don't have it in my top 5. And I really feel like I should, because I also kind of help him. Like, here's what we have all going on. I'm like, well, you can do this at this time and then do this at that. And then we can get everything that we want to get done accomplished with what, very little. So it's kind of funny how that works.
It might be worth doing your full 34 report then, because like you might discover, like the includer, Laura and includer, you might discover it's higher in your list. It's just lurking outside your top 5. And yeah, those top 10 are strong. My number 6 is adaptability. My number 7 is either command or activator. And then the number 8 is the other, so activator command. And it's like, I didn't realize those were part of my arsenal until they made the 34 themes available. It used to cost when I took StrengthsFinder, if you wanted to get your full 34 report, it cost around $650 to do that. Because the only way they would do it is with a coaching session too. So that's how it was back then. So you youngins have it good now. You don't know how good you have it. Back in my day, when we took StrengthsFinder, we had to go uphill in the snow to take it. And then when we came back, we had to go uphill in the snow twice as high to take it.
I actually have a question about unlocking the extra 34 because it says pay $39.99. You can. Does it automatically unlock it for you then?
Yeah, it does. You don't have to take it again or anything. They already have it. They're holding it back from you.
I really don't want to take it again because I don't want them to move and then have to re-identify.
I totally get that too. Yeah. Which
And
leads
then
me
they
to-
send you little emails around like, hey, you have positivity, you can do this, this, and that, like you'll get little kind of personalizations to it, so.
All right, I didn't know they were doing that. All right, but yeah, so the full 34, there's a lot to get now from it, but I like to start with the first top 5 because what I want people to do is first understand what the themes are. I don't want them to get overwhelmed by having to learn all 34. I mean, that's, so 5 is a gracious plenty, and let's start there and let's see, those are your dominant ones, so you'll see them show up. That's how I treat StrengthsFinder, but I think most people treat it the way they want to do other assessments, like, oh, what does it tell about me? Okay, and then they put it away. And that's how most people treat it. They don't even remember their top 5. So that's where the coin model comes in. And we'll get back to it. I think next session, we'll get back into the coin model. We talked about connect. Then we'll go the O, which is observe, the I, which is interrupt, and the N, which is nuance. And this is the pathway of what you do with your themes. We go from the awareness of them, and connecting with what do they mean? How do they fit in with me? And so like Bo describing, oh yeah, further connections with your, I'm connecting more with my arranger theme. That's what happens when you look at them more closely. With Heather, we've talked about themes for a long time, but we never really talked about our empathy theme. And now the empathy theme is really coming into play. And so new discoveries to be had, on the magical journey of learning about the themes, which we'll now get back into. So arranger, juggles, creates order. Okay, I got through all that. They thrive in dynamic situations. They like when it's dynamic, oh, right, we do this, and they're in a sort of flow state. They're really good at reprioritizing. Oh, this is a new wrinkle. All right, well, let's throw that into the juggling mix. All right, that's a new reality we have to deal with. So I think arrangers are actually unstated in here. They have a good relationship with reality. In fact, reality is a very important relationship for them. Like, this ain't going to happen. You can't get there from here. This ain't realistic. Heather says this to me all the time. That's why she's in charge of my schedule.
I also have adaptability in my top 5 though. So I think that like arranger and adaptability, like kind of supercharge each other.
Supercharge. That's exactly
But
it.
Ashley, I bet looking at your top 5, I bet you do have it in your top 10 because I also have connectedness, and then I have developers, my number 6. So we have some similarities. So I have a hunch it might be up there for you.
So because Ashley is the developer number 1.
And empathy. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, not
Empathy.
connectedness. But
Yeah,
empathy.
developer
We have-
empathy. Yeah. Yeah, if you're trying to arrange for someone else, then developer and empathy might look like arranger, in those cases.
I also thought with Ashley, I went to the other 2, the responsibility and the relator, just because that's in her nature, is like she can relate to what he's doing and adapt to it. And then just the responsibility, like you started with, as we like being a parent and juggling all these schedules, it's like my responsibility. Like, so I was gonna use the word marry so well. That's good.
Whoa, Jessica, that was like big break. That was awesome. That's a great connection. I can totally see that too. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Good. Yes, theme combinations. That's when this comes to life. We're just going through the individual, elements, but what happens when we can combine them? It's chemistry of a different sort. All right. Let's see. I'll do the theme. Look at a theme anatomy real. All right. So, here's the. You're a conductor, managing variables. You could just kind of go, and each one of these are like little bullet points, aligning and realigning them until you have the most productive configuration possible. Productive, that's an interesting way to say it. That's maybe why they kind of associate with executing, because it's not a philosophical configuration, it's productive. It's meant to get something done. Arrangers don't just sit there and arrange. Achievers don't get to have all the glory. No, arrangers are mighty productive, and their arrangements allow other people. Achievers are only out for themselves. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But like, arrangers are achievers for other people. I'm playing. I'm not trying to start a fight between the themes. Yeah, there's nothing special about what you're doing. It probably seems pretty boring, you know. So people will amaze though at your ability. How do you keep it all together? Yeah. So you're always looking for the perfect configuration. Now that's another way. It's not a productive configuration. It's a perfect configuration. This is all Gallup canon. So that's why I come here. And then where is the theme anatomy for it? So for the arranger theme, I know that one's a little small. Let's try to pump up the volume. All right, the achiever, this is how I describe it. Why does it exist? To achieve results, in the face of complexity by finding optimal configuration and the optimal use of resources. Heather won't throw things away. She's always got to find something for it. Yeah. But it's putting things in the right timing, the right sequence, all of that, getting the right people in order. And so I give an example of a feeling. There may be a sense of calm in the center of the storm, which Heather describes that way. She's very calm in chaos, and she is, absolutely. Maybe they're frustrated when they're given parameters that make no sense, when they're like, it's right there, I could just do that, ding dong, just let me just do my thing. Thoughts they might have. And I know they don't always think in questions. I just put them in the form of questions. I can't put all the thoughts in here. So, but you know, what are the interrelated parts? What is the best order? What should go first? Then what? And does this order make sense? You know, and you guys with the Ranger, check me on it. I'm writing these things. And then the behaviors, they're juggling again. They're intuitively sensing priorities and what are ideal inputs. I guess, what are ideal like resources I could have? What would be good? Where can I go? And you might flag things that are useful for your arranging. Once organized, then they take action to get to the goal. So that's how I might describe their behaviors. What matches for them? And I won't do this for every single theme, but I'm just showing you how theme anatomy works. Matches are when everything up to what I read right now, a good match is when you're in a situation that's dynamic and complex. You have freedom to deploy resources in the way you determine to be optimized, and where multitasking is actually an advantage. You're good in those kind of situations. And if you're in those situations, then the enabler is like, what does it look like? What is that power is now ready to work in your behalf. And so what does it look like? You organize things to meet particular needs. You like to arrange all the pieces. You have an excellent sense of proportion is another way to say it. Mismatches, where this pattern firing, all of this pattern firing is a mismatch because you don't control the situations. Situations are just going to prompt this to happen, and it'll either be a match or a mismatch. And if the situation is a mismatch, that usually means things are simple and repetitive. There's no real need to arrange. Solutions and challenge, they're already operationalized. It's already rote. We already got this. And there's little or no control over how resources are used. You're not going to enjoy that so much. It's going to be boring. All right. And in that case, you might get in your rut, which is what these patterns look like in those situations. It's your overconfidence in your ability to juggle things. Oh, we can handle it. Oh, no problem. Until maybe it's too much. You were cutting it too close to the wire, and something happened you didn't factor, and it really threw you in, and you can't arrange it, and your arranger can't solve it. And then that may be not a good situation for you. I don't know. You're going to tell me after I shut up, after I say these last two sentences. It's easy for others to accidentally mess up your perfect arrangement because you never told them what it was, because it's all in your head. That's part of the rut. No, that was supposed to go there. You touched it too soon. I was saving that. I love Ashley's looking at Bo right now. And you're annoyed by waste and inefficiencies. Heather is so annoyed by why are you doing that? Why do you what? I'm sorry, all you people that water your lawns, but that's one of them. All right, I'll shut up now. Any reactions to that theme?
Does anyone else feel like a bobblehead when Adam goes through the themes? Like you're just like, oh yeah, that's yeah. That's what I feel like.
I wanted to make theme bobbleheads too. I mean, this was my version of how close I could get. Yeah, but right. I mean, good. This is good. Why do I know these things? Because I just studied the patterns. That's it. That's all I did. I'm like, oh, they're describing patterns. Where do I see the pattern? Oh, if this happens, then oh, this comes with it because that's how patterns work. Yeah. All right. So belief. Do any of you guys have belief? I mean, we all have beliefs. Oh, yeah. Okay, 2 in that household. All right, let's see. Belief and Presley has it too. Number 1. Bo, number 1. Ashley, number 2. All right, we got some belief in the hizzle. So let's talk about it. I'll start, like I said, I start with the image, that's just me, because it tells the story. It tells the story. Life is chaos. When I read the description, that's where Gallup begins. And that's the tornado in the background. That's the whirlwind of the world. All right. And the world will spin you out and make you crazy. And there's a lot of confusion. So we need things that anchor us in confusing times. She's literally wearing an anchor around her waist. And that anchor is meant to ground her for the storms of life. That's on a rock, standing on a rock. And the defiant pose, that's not an accident. Belief, they don't move. When it comes to their belief, that storm is in for an ass whooping. No, it's just with belief, these are values that we have to guide ourselves by. They're anchor points. They're invisible, maybe. I get it, but not to me, they aren't. And I will inconvenience myself, and I'm going to inconvenience you too for my beliefs. So let's see how Gallup says it. They say, if you possess strong belief theme, you have everybody has beliefs. That's not what this is about. It's what you do with how those beliefs are used in your life. That's what this theme is about. You have certain core values that are enduring. These values vary. They're enduring. I'm not going to talk you out of them. Oh, you can put that aside for a few dollars, officer. No, it's not like these values vary from person to person, but they cause you to be often family oriented, altruistic, even spiritual, not necessarily though, but even spiritual, and to value responsibility and high ethics in yourself and in others, because where you have high themes, you have high standards for others with all the themes. So it's true here. These core values affect your behavior in lots of ways. They give your life meaning and satisfaction. It's not just about money or prestige. In fact, hardly, unless you really value those two things, but likely you won't, because what you're really oriented toward is spiritual, because this theme, along with connectedness, used to be one theme called spirituality. So it's not a fame orientation or a money orientation, it's a spirituality orientation. They provide you with direction, they guide you through the temptations, the distractions of life. This consistency, which by the way is another theme, so we'll talk about that next, is the foundation for all your relationships. All your friends will call you dependable. They'll know where you stand, by the way. You're going to call them out. I was reading an article about a famous YouTube group, 4 people. I forget, can't remember their name, but I don't know, or TikTok, I don't even know anymore. But what it was about it is one of the 4 had a workplace affair, and the other 3, kicked the person out of the group. And that person also apologized publicly and acknowledged they were no longer in the group. And that group now, it's a podcast. That's what it is. They do podcasting. I can't remember the name of it, but it was in the news. So they're probably pretty famous. And so I would imagine there's belief going on, right? How many times do most people look the other way for infidelities and stuff like that? You know, but for a belief theme, it's like, well, no, there's something going on there. It's not just, there's something, you're breaking your word. And when I give my word, that's, you know what I mean? For belief, that they're like, my word is a contract. I don't just give my word. I'll give my word that I can't give my word, you know, if I can't give my word, you know, that's how important my word is. You know where they stand. I trust people with belief. I don't want to butt heads with them, but I trust them. So when their beliefs kick in, what I've learned, well, let me finish. It also demands that you find work that meshes with your core values. Yeah. Your work must be meaningful. It must matter to you, and guided by your belief theme, it will matter only only if it gives you a chance here. This is it right here. Living out your values. That's what you could call belief theme right there. You could just call it living out your values. That's the pattern. All right. What do you guys say? Belief people.
We also have another belief in the house. It's Lincoln, our oldest. And it's funny because
Oh,
I think a lot of it has to do with his age. He's 17. But yeah, his belief is very, very strong. For example, he believes in, we both have the same belief of being healthy and how to get there, but also he has different opinions on what he's researched. And I have my knowledge from my curriculum, from my personal training, certification. And so when we go head to head with, he's like, well, I have to do this so many hours a day, and then I have to, eat like this so many times a day. I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. And so it just causes like a lot of butting heads. And then like, he has to do his laundry a certain way. And I'm like, okay, it's just one of those things, like it is very strong, and he gets it from someone else as well. But it's just funny having all of us in the same house, because there are times, we get into some hot topics and you cannot talk this kid into, past beyond his research. So I just found
hence
funny.
the beauty of knowing ruts, because when you
Yes.
read the rut on belief, it really opens your eyes, especially like she said, with three of us dealing with the same rut, you have to toe the line sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
can come across as stubborn or righteous. Black and white view can seem rigid to those who see shades of gray. Yeah. So, wow, crazy breakfast fights. Is this whey protein? Is this, because that's not what, that better not be. No, just kidding. Is that what's in that smoothie? Because that ain't happening here on my watch.
Yeah, he won't eat certain things if I have something in the meal. He's that stubborn, when it comes to his diet. But like I said, that's just who he is. And there's a lot of trust you can put into Lincoln. There are times where, as parents, we're like, hey, don't tell the kids we're doing this, or don't tell so-and-so we're doing that. We just want to kind of go under the radar. And he's like, don't tell me anything that you don't want me to tell anybody else. He's
Right.
that trustworthy.
And I trust him from the word Lincoln. So like right away, I'm like, all right. That's so, but perfect description of the dynamics that could happen. And does it help to know why, at least?
Yes.
Right? Because if you didn't know why, you'd go, what is this, a power play? Is that what this is? And that could go in all kinds of dysfunctional directions. So I like, this is, to me, is also another great advantage of the tool. All right, y'all, we have to talk about a problem, and the problem is me. The problem is my vociferousness, because that was the third theme, and we were going to cover 17, and we've spent almost all of our time. We got 40 minutes left. So I need guidance and help from you. I summon my community to help me manage my themes. What would you like? How would you like to handle the rest of the call? Like, do we need to reestablish our expectations and go, all right, we're probably just going to make it through the execution themes today. If we're going to readjust our goals, if you're an arranger, or if you're focusing on belief, then you're just like, no, you said we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. So achievers are like, got it. So help me, guide me. How would you like to handle the rest of our time together? This is your time, by the way. So yeah.
Well, I have an opinion. I think it's important that the themes get covered, in depth, because this is for you all to be able to go out and share it with your community. So I say we readjust our expectations and maybe go over fewer themes today. That's my 2 cents.
Any other votes? Ashley or Andrea? Yeah, Ashley, Andrea, which way is that thumb going? Okay. Oh, it's up. Oh, I don't know that feeling. Okay. All right. Good. This should be a good day. All right, let's continue then. Anything else on belief before we move on to consistency? All right. So this theme is one that is often misunderstood because the word and what do they mean by consistency and how is it going to play out? So, and this one it was one of the 2 hardest it was one of the last ones we could figure out how to visualize or portray, but we thought some kind of umpire or, judge, somebody who they're there to make sure that everybody's following the rules. And that is what they mean by consistency. It doesn't mean that they are always consistent in everything they do and they never change. It means they want to provide, see the turf he's on, it's very level. It's a very subtle point of it, but that soccer ball looks really cool, by the way. Like that's like, I like I don't know, anyway, but that's the idea, very level playing field. They do not like uneven. That's what it is. So remember we talked about individualization. I would kind of put these 2 at opposite ends of the spectrum. Not that they can't get along, they absolutely can, but often you will see, it's very rare you'll see individualization and consistency in the top 5, and you'll often see one higher on the 34 and one lower on the 34. But and this is why. They want everybody to be treated the same. They possess an inherent sense of justice. They believe rules should be clear and applied to everyone equally. Rules make us safe. Rules allow us to get things done. Rules are what keep us as a community. And having that level playing field for all parties is important. So I'm a guardian against unfair advantages and special favors. But why is this in the execution? It's like, where would you put this? Is this a thinking? Is this a relating? Is it? So maybe then I go to Gallup's original description. Balance is important to you. Okay, there's part of it too. Oh, by the way, this theme used to be called fairness. I sort of collect that. My input theme sort of collects, like, not all, only a few of the themes had their names changed. So I'm always interested in what did they call it before. And in a way, I think fairness was a better name. Like it just says what it is, fairness, because I don't get the fairness from consistency. All right. You're keenly aware of the need to treat people the same, no matter what their station in life. So you do not want to see the scales tip too far in one person's favor. In your view, this leads to selfishness and individualism, right? Individualization, right? It leads to a world where some people gain an unfair advantage because of their connections or their background or their greasing of the wheels. You know, people can take advantage of those, you know, of those inconsistencies. And by the way, they do. You discover. I read today that 1% of the wealth in this nation it owns 1/3 of the wealth. So that means 99% of the rest of the of you all, not me. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. 99% of us, you know, are you know, we get 2/3 to sort. Okay, this is offensive to you. You see yourself as a guardian against it. And like, that's where the execution kicks in, right? It's very subtle. But this is what drives a person with consistency to act. They are acting to even the playing field. They are acting to open access. They're acting to fight injustices. In direct contrast to this world of special favors, you believe that people function best. There's the execution aspect too. But there's also relationship, blah, blah, there's all of it in here. But I'm trying to help, gallop here. Best and consistent environment where the rules are clear and applied to everyone equally. This is an environment where people know what's expected. That's good. People function better when the expectations are clear. When they're vague and fuzzy, then how do people settle those differences? It becomes a battle of personalities. That's not good for anybody, except for the people with the strongest personalities, apparently. It is predictable and even-handed. That's the kind of environment they want. I want an environment that's predictable and even-handed. I want a world that's fair and where each person has an even chance to show his or her worth.
Adam, that is tricky because when I think of synonymously, consistency would mean same. Like they like things to be the same. They like things to be consistent. But when you're thinking of fairness is not a consistent because it's going to vary so much for one, to make things fair for two people who are very different. So
Right.
I'll probably think of this all week. Thanks.
Yeah. But then there's the balance. And consistency also wants balance. So what is the balance, here? What is justice? And yes, and that's what our whole legal system, we invest a lot in this question. The institution of legality, is that your 34, Heather? Is consistent. Oh, which one was it? Okay.
Yes, consistency is my number 34.
Yeah, it's her number 34. So how does that play out for you in that way? That knowing that, like, you're like, screw that, even Stephen, we need justice as individual, or what? How do you see it?
Well, it's interesting because I do like, injustices and when things are unfair, really, you've seen it fire me up. So I've never really pondered it enough to be able to answer that well. I need to think about it.
Right.
But it starts with awareness, right?
It starts with the awareness. Now, with any of these themes, with the belief theme, rewinding, you could go, oh, now that I know that how that works, now let me look for what are those beliefs because they were invisible to me. With consistency, you can now go, yeah, how do I determine what is just or unjust? Because if you want to understand what's going on politically in the country, that may be at the core of what's going on. Each side is demonizing the other, but what they're demonizing is each other's sense of justice and how we weigh things and our sensitivities and where our empathies are and stuff. I'm not trying to just say it's just that, but I think there's if we could do a better job at talking about what is just and fair, that might help ease tensions, because a lot of times I have a belief about conflict because some of our other work that we do, that conflict is actually a disagreement on how to spend resources. That at the heart of all conflict, and I'm sort of testing this now, I'm looking for exceptions to this, but at the core of it, it's like when Lincoln and Ashley are debating about these things, they're actually debating about how should we spend our resources. And Ashley's saying, you don't have to worry about those things, Lincoln. You're hyper focusing on those things. And I'm telling you, from someone that has been doing this as long as you've been alive, that you might be hyper focusing. Yeah, Laura got it. Thanks for the heads up. Well, it'll be recorded. You can watch the rest. Oh, and you will hear what I just said when you watch. Talking to you, even though you're not here, Laura. What do you think of that? All right. So yeah, so it's the disagreement over how we distribute resources as at the heart of conflict. Oh, you heard. That's great. Nice. Well done. Well done. All right. So I don't know, you can weigh that one up for yourself too, about the conflict of resource, at the heart of conflict is a disagreement about how we should share resources. It's a weird thought. All right. What should we do now? Theme anatomy. You want to take a quick peek at that for consistency, or should we move on? We said no, we already agreed how we're going to do it. So I'm going to stick with it before Heather punches me. I know that look on her face. She's not the only one who recognizes patterns around here. Purpose. Why would this theme exist? This is how I answer the question. Why? This is how I created Theme Anatomy. My first question, why does the theme exist? And this is the best answer, and you can do better. To facilitate clarity, transparency, equality, and order. And that wasn't used yet, but in the other stuff, but I think that brings it, and fairness, so that everyone has a chance to A, contribute, and B, benefit. From what? From the community. All right, let me just confess this too. Whenever I answer the question of purpose for each theme, I'm picturing primitive humans. I'm actually picturing a camp of like primitive cave dwelling humans with a little campfire outside, and they're sitting around on rocks and like, and they're wearing furry kind of toga things. And I don't know what language they're speaking, but I'm picturing they need to survive together. And that in this group, one of them will have this quality. And why? Why did these early humans develop this quality? And it's because, hey, if we're a community and tribalism is how we're going to get through this crazy spanking machine of life, then we need to have even rules, or else this clan is just gonna go. I've been part of other clans, okay? And they were run by a very corrupt system, you know. Whoever gave Ugg and Glug the most meat got all and the whole clan fell apart. All right, none of them talked to each other. They all unfriended each other on Facebook. So now when I have a clan, it's going to be, the rules are clear, and even those in power are going to follow them. You see, that's a little elaborate. I don't really think about it that much, but the cave people setting, that's how I think of it. Why would this quality need to exist? Why would we observe this quality in such a swath of the population that Gallup, which is a polling company, Gallup polls, is doing this work, right? Because it's looking at the population and going, what meaning do we make of it? And that's what these things are. All right, I'm glad I got that out, because I never really got to express that before. So if this is the need, or if this is the purpose, then what needs would I have? Well, I need objective ways to determine fairness. I need to be around people that also are fair. You know, I need ways for there to be accountability. I need there to be opportunity that is equally available to all the people. And people have a way to voice their concerns. If there isn't fairness, we have a way to address a lack of fairness. So how might I feel? Well, I'm going to be happy when things are clear. And oh, I love this. Oh, you have a really clear HR manual, and you follow it very clear. That's awesome. You know, I'd like to work at a place like that. They're offended by selfishness, and they're frustrated with vagueness or secrecy. They don't like that stuff. See, that doesn't come out in the other reports, but this is just sort of my extrapolation from purpose to need, and then to the patterns. Gallup starts with the patterns, and I'm like, what precedes a pattern is a need. We develop patterns to meet our needs. That's why you use your left hand or your right hand. You develop that pattern to learn how to hold the toothbrush. And then that's what worked for you. And then you kept holding the toothbrush with that hand. That's where the patterns. And then where do the needs come from? Well, everything for me has to have a purpose. There has to be an original purpose to things. There's a reason something exists. That's what purpose means to me. What is the reason these needs exist? Well, that is the only thing I can think of. All right. So what thoughts would someone have? Is this fair to, again, not people don't only think in questions, but generally, what's the fairness around here? How are the rules looking? Do I like the rules or not? Does everyone have an equal chance here? Am I observing that? You know, they're looking for that stuff. I'm not looking for that stuff. Maybe intuitively, or maybe it would dawn on me after a few months. Wait a minute, not everything is fair or clear or any of those words. But for consistency, they're like, wait a minute, I saw a breach in policy right off the bat. Something doesn't smell right here. You know, that's the pattern. You know, and then the behavior. They're going to clear. Wait a minute, what do you mean? Let's clarify the ground rules here and stuff like that. All right, I got to speed it up, or we're not going to get through this. Situations where expectations are clear. That's a match. And when they're in that situation, they're aware that to treat people the same. But when there's a mismatch where the things are unfair, then they're going to appear unsympathetic. They're going to be like, no, we're sticking to the policies. They're going to dig in too. They could be unnecessarily rigid. So imagine somebody with belief and consistency. And so they could be seen as killjoys. I didn't know another way to say it. You know, that's my wording. All right. Any thoughts or reactions to the consistency theme? I don't think it's in anyone's top 5 here, but any thoughts on it? Moving on to deliberative. The deliberative theme. All right. Does anybody hear of that one?
I always feel like it's a moment of confession when we get here. So this is my 34. Let me just get the confession.
Perfect.
I'm
Perfect.
pretty.
My 33.
Yay.
And it's like 16 for me, but I think it's moved up even higher. So right on. I think it's great. And so to Laura's point, yeah, knowing where this is in your 34 adds the value. All right, let's get into it. Deliberative. Going to the image. Yeah, the image. This was fun. We had to redraw it a few times, but this person is looking for landmines. That's and everything is geared toward it. Why? Because they don't want it to blow up. It's the thought bubble versus the reality. Here's the risk. Here's the threat. Here's the risk. We need to manage so the risk doesn't happen. And everything about a deliberative is for that. So that's the image. So you could read through a little bit. Careful, vigilant, reserved. They're about quality, not speed. It's about managing risks. And when we go over to the Gallup's description, you're careful, you're vigilant, you're private, because being public is risky. So when you have someone with deliberative and you like call on them right away, it puts them in a really bad situation. I try to remember that. Let them know you're going to ask them a question. Don't just go, hey, deliberative person, answer this question in front of the whole room of people. That's risky. You know, the world is unpredictable. Everything may seem in order, but beneath the surface, there's risks. That's what they detect first. Consistency detects injustice. Belief detects values. Deliberative detects risks. Rather than denying these risks, you draw them out in the open. In fact, when other people deny the risks, it's torture for deliberative, because the risk is in their nervous system and they're like, alarm, 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 and nobody's listening. And it's torture for them because they can't let it go. They need to be heard. They need someone to go, all right, I hear you. It is logged. You know, you are not alone. You've sniffed that out, and we now know you're off the hook. Each risk can be identified, assessed, and reduced. Thus, you are a serious person who approaches life with a certain reserve. For example, you like to plan ahead and as to anticipate what could go wrong. You select your friends cautiously and keep your own counsel when the conversation turns to personal matters you don't really like to share. You are careful not to give too much praise. You don't want to overpraise people. You might praise them and they might get cocky, or they might misunderstand or hear it the wrong way. If some people don't like you because you are not effusive as others, then that's fine. You know what? I'd rather you, fine, you don't like me because I'm not going to take these risks. I'm not going to be forced to say things that I don't know I'm going to regret later. Life is not a popularity contest. Life is a minefield. Others can run through it recklessly if they so choose, but you take a different approach. You identify the dangers, weigh the risks and impact, and then place your feet deliberately. You walk with care, right? Why would somebody have this set of patterns? Why? To minimize the cost and harm of mistakes through careful risk assessment. Oh, you're going to help our clan by making sure we don't live too close to that crazy clan over there, or to those poisonous mushrooms over there. I don't know. So with that purpose comes a need. I need to weigh the risks. I need to be open to others' thoughts, concerns, and I need to take preventative measures. What feels good is when others are responsive to my warnings. What feels bad is when problems are ignored, swept under the rug. Thoughts, what's wrong? What could go wrong? What's the risk here? What are the things that break? What are the things that explode? What are the things that go wrong? And are we accounting for those here? Let's do an audit. That's the behavior. They're watching, they're planning, they're making plans in case something goes wrong, or they're really trying to prevent things from going wrong. Situations where stakes are high and there's opportunity to conduct due diligence, that's where you want them. You do not want them where everything's rush, 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 and let's just lock it out the door. Who cares? And whatever. So when you're in situations that are, good, then they focus on quality and they avoid mistakes and all of that. When there's a mismatch, they're slow and they can be stubborn. It's hard to get them going. You do not want them in fast situations. They're going to weigh risks when it's like, you know what, we just got to run with it. All right, so that's the deliberative theme. Any thoughts or reactions to that?
I think another term for deliberative may be anxiety. Because I really feel like I'm surprised that's not my number one. I mean, before I even start my day, I'm already weighing out the risk. I'm already thinking of what's going to happen, with kid 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And I'm very deliberate when it comes to if Bo's like, hey, let's go hiking today. I'm like, good, you gave me an hour to plan. So here, and I'm weighing it all out. I fill the hiking bag in case someone has a blowout, or I'm packing extra food in case someone gets hungry. I mean, I'm thinking all of the different things that could go wrong, and I am preparing for them. And some people say, well, you're creating your own problems, or you're creating problems that aren't there. And I just say that may be the case, but I'm also realistic. I'm thinking realistically, because what's going to happen when someone doesn't take that approach and something does go wrong and someone's not prepared? Well, then the walls crumble, and then they're looking back at mom and dad like, well, why didn't you prepare for this? Well, I did, so you're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I love like the playing out of the inner experience of the theme, because that's what we don't see in each other, is the inner experience. There's a book I have that I've been very influenced by, even though I haven't finished it. It's called Pristine Inner Experience. And that's, it's just about that. It's that inner experience of us, of the inner experience of being a human, that with the other people around us, we think that they'll humanize us, but they don't, because they don't see a lot of that inner experience, because we don't even know we're having it. And that's why he calls it pristine, because his metaphor is like, picture snow's way out in the wilderness where there are no humans, and the snow is just it's pristine. That's what our inner landscape is. It's untrammeled by other people. And so that's the inner experience, and he would do research on it. And one of the research projects he did fascinated me. He did it with a group. He'll do it different people, and I can't remember all the studies, but one group he worked with were people with anorexia nervosa, eating disorder. And what he wanted to do was find out what's the inner experience that, sorry, it was bulimia. Very important. Wrong eating disorder. It was bulimia. And he wanted to get to the heart of the bulimic behavior. Why? And what he found, and this, I'm not saying this is true among all people, it's just, this is something that I'm like, if this is going on, it's fixable. His research, this is going to blow my time budget to tell you. All right. But this is about patterns. I'm trying to teach you this so you can teach yourself all of this anyway. So that's even the most important thing than going theme by theme, but that's my rationalization. All right, for telling the story. All right, so he would have them, he would give them pagers, and then he would page them. And when they were paged, they would have to write what was their inner experience, like just what was going on in their head. And then he would have his team of trained researchers interview them about their journals. So it was a very, they all agreed to all of this up front, to be this up front. What he discovered is that in several of the people in his study, there was only like 12 of them in it, but in several of the people, what happened is they would have a thought, and then they would have another thought, and then they would have another thought, which is what all of us have happen. But for the rest of us, once we get to the next layer of thoughts, the earlier thoughts go away. And then, we only can hold like 2 or 3 thoughts at a time. But in a lot of these bulimics, yes, thanks, Carrie. It's all beyond recording. All right. So that the earlier thoughts didn't go away. They had to hold on to those earlier thoughts, and so they're trying to hold on to all of these tense things, that the only way they found to cognitively reset was to purge, the act of purging. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's fact. That's just what his research showed, a trend. And I'm like, that's the power of patterns. That's the inner world. And I used to start my talks talking about a German word called Umwelt, which is a word specifically described. We don't have a word for it in our language. It's U-M-W-E-L-T, Umwelt. And it's meant to describe that self world, that internal world. Anyway, to me, it's at the heart of being human. So it's really, really important. And that's what the Strengths Finder is for me. All right, I will get back in my themes to keep on moving this forward. All right, so where are my, all right, here's what I tried to do. I tried to pull up my top 5 here. And it's not showing up. So there's a problem with our document generator, which means I have to relog in.
It probably logged you out.
It did log me out. So it's going to take me a second to relog. So while we're doing that, give me a moment to vamp. Do you guys, or you vamp to give me a moment, do you guys have any thoughts or reactions on any of that so far? On any of the, like that Umwelt or that inner experience and how the themes relate to that? Okay. So here's the top 5 for the second round, the second half. Discipline. And the way we draw her is from a Netflix show I saw, and The Little Prince, and there's a mom in that animated version, and she was using this board. I'm like, that's discipline. They bring organization, order, and precision to their world. They impose systems, routine, structures to maintain control. They make progress in the face of distractions because they're keeping order. They use resources and time effectively. They focus on timelines and deadlines. They need order. They need to keep chaos at bay. That's the purpose of the theme, if I were to jump right to it. Do any of you have discipline in your top 5 or work with somebody who has it? Nobody in this group I don't see has it. But you'll know when you have it, because if you mess with their order, it's going to drive them crazy. And yeah, Heather has this as a 31. I have it pretty low too. But people with order, they color code their closet. They have, things are out. So everything is about order. And why? Why do they have those patterns? Well, it keeps the confusion at bay. And so that's why I want to now go into the signature theme report, where it says your world needs to be predictable, ordered, and planned. You impose structure, you set up the routines, you do all that, you break long-term projects into short-term plans. You do all these diligent things because you have this urge for predictability. It avoids conflict if you could do all of this. So they're impatient with errors, routine, people's impatience with let me just read it. Your dislike of surprises, your impatience with errors, your routines, your detail orientation, they don't need to be misinterpreted as controlling if people really understand what was behind it. Rather, they could be understood as your instinctive method for maintaining your progress and your productivity in the face of life's many distractions. So you see, belief deals with distractions through values. Discipline deals with distractions through order and routines and systems. So, that to me is a very important distinction, and understanding how these things differ from one another, even if they seem similar. And so for the last one, this one takes a little longer to come up, but it's the theme anatomy, just more graphics involved, which is why. But you'll see when we get to the purpose of discipline, why they're that way. Oops, wrong one. that it's to maintain and enhance efficiency and order by minimizing chaos, meticulous organization, systems, processes, and routines. So picture that camp of early humans. It's gonna be very well organized. Where the clubs are located, there's gonna be like little cubbies for each person's, club, and whatever. I mean, it's gonna be an organized camp because that's gonna help them live together better. And the need that comes from this purpose is they need to create structure. They need others' willingness to adhere to those procedures. They need advance notice when changes are made. They hate last minute changes. They hate last minute announcements. They do not have a ranger in them. They do not have adaptability in them as well. I mean, they have it, it's just lower. So, you can see they feel at peace when things go up time. They feel anxiety when things are random, disorganized, or uncontrolled. The kind of thoughts are about, does everything have a place? I had a client once say, I tell my wife at home, this stapler has a place and this stapler is homesick. Put this stapler back in. I'm like, okay, you probably have a happy household. I didn't say that, but they organize things. They put them into systems. They make things neat and orderly. So they like situations where plans can be made, and everybody likes that. They do not like surprises unless they're planning for a surprise party. They love that then, as long as nobody ruins the surprise. And they're going to be anxious about it till the very end. So very attentive to details because of that. And they're highly organized by systematizing things into routines and structures, and they like a sense of order. That's when they're enabled, that's what they do. When they're in the mismatch, well, then they're easily annoyed and frustrated by others who are less structured. They dwell on mistakes. And is that a misspell of dwell? Ooh, I don't even know. Dwell is spelled with what out from now on? Overly stressed by, because I don't want to change it. Overly stressed by chaos. That's them. All right, any thoughts on discipline, or you want me to just power ahead? Rush to the finish line. All right, let's go back to focus is the next one. Anybody here have focus? No, but you can see in the picture, there's the headlamp with the magnifying lens, looking at the target on the map. I mean, you get the point? They work in a tunnel, okay? Do you see? This is focus. They are not ideators. They're all about, give me the focus, give me the deadline, tell me where to go, and I'll do everything to get there. I want to be a dog on a bone. I will not let it go. I love when I have deadlines and focus, okay? Where am I headed? You ask this question every day, guided by this theme. You need a clear destination. If you're managing or working with people, you got to give them deadlines, or they go bonkers. Lacking one, your life, your work can quickly become frustrating. And so each year, each month, even each week, you set goals. It's always about goals and the markers and where are we going? And they serve as the compass. For belief, their values are the compass. For other, justice is the compass. But for consistency, but your compass is goals. You need them. All right. Your focus is powerful because it forces you to filter. You instinctively evaluate whether or not a particular action will help you move forward toward the goal. Those that don't are ignored. In the end, then your focus forces you to be efficient. There you go. Natural. I have no idea why that's that. We got to fix that one too. The flip side of this is that it causes you to become impatient with delays, obstacles, and even tangents, no matter how intriguing they appear to be. Yeah, my ideator would drive them nuts. All right, I'm gonna stop talking right now. All right, so that's them. Why would that theme exist? It's kind of obvious, right? Like, why would somebody need that quality to just be so hyper focused on goals? Well, my answer to that is that to narrow one's attention to the important priorities and block out distractions in order to focus and secure the desired target. What is our community? Oh, we need water? Then we need to stop doing all this other stuff, people. Let's focus on water for our clan. And that need, or because of that purpose, they need clear objectives. They need the opportunity to see a task through to completion. Don't change mind on me mid-task. I'm locked on. I'm taking that hill because you told me you wanted it. Do not go change that. They need help. They need help standing back to see the big picture sometimes. Why is that the goal? And so you can see, you can read through the feelings, the thoughts and behaviors that come with it. I'm moving on to the next one, which is responsibility. We've talked about it already a little bit. The key phrase, psychological ownership. That's what it's about. Why would a community need people to have this, to have psychological ownership? Because otherwise everybody's going to laze about and not get things done. We need guilt. we need good old fashioned. We got to just do it because we said we would, and it's going to care for the people we care about, and that's what it is. So they read about it. We'll read about it here. Your responsibility theme forces you to take psychological ownership for anything you commit to, whether large or small. You feel emotionally bound. So if you drop the ball, it's going to be terrible. You're going to panic. You're named it. See the anxiety that comes with these two? There's a lot of anxiety with these execution themes. Oh, is that a coincidence? Or is execution about getting things done so is the anxiety about getting things done so we survive? That anxiety is actually our friend, and we need to keep it from getting out of control. And we can manage our anxiety because we're aware of our patterns now more. That's what the value is here. Apologies aren't enough to make it up when you drop the ball. Like, you will move mountains if you've ever dropped the ball on somebody. So that's why when people have responsibility, if they mess up, I don't embarrass them or make them feel guilty, because I know they're beating themselves up. Conscientiousness is really at the heart of it. Yep. And so why? To psychologically invest in the commitments they make in order to provide reliability and accountability, so the things get done that need to get done. So because of that, they need to keep commitments. They need to make good on obligations. They need people who do what they say they're going to do. So I'll jump right to thoughts. They're always thinking through, what did I commit to? Who's supposed to do what? When is this due? And the feelings are often, oh, okay, good. I'm free. I feel good. I got it done. Or guilt. Oh no, I got to get this done, and I can't relax until I do get it done. That's the inner world. That's the Umwelt. That's the inner experience of this theme. And so they're going to volunteer for tasks. Why would they do that? Because nobody else volunteered, and I psychologically invest, and I guess it's just on me to do it. If you don't manage your theme, your patterns, you're going to end up with things on your plate you may not want. Everybody else in the room is waiting, is silently keep holding back from volunteering. They're waiting for the responsibility person to raise their hands. So that's that one. All right, let's see. Can we do restorative? Because restorative is the last one. And it seems very similar to responsibility, but there's some nuances. Basically, it's about the way developer would look for other people's potential, the way consistency would look for injustice, the way achiever would look for accomplishments. The restorative looks for things that are broken, things that aren't working. It could be things physical, it could be processes, it could be relationships, but they're good when things are broken. Not necessarily crisis, and we're not saying crisis here. They may be good in a crisis, but they're good when things are in disrepair. That's what it is. And they're good at patiently bringing things back to life. They like to tinker. They like to get in there. They like to get their hands dirty. They will adjust their bodies to the problem. They will adjust their minds to the problem. So what Gallup says about it is, you love to solve problems. Some are dismayed. This is low for me. I am dismayed by problems, so they shut me down. But not a restorative person. They enjoy the challenge of analyzing the symptoms, identifying what's wrong, and finding the solutions. You could already see why this wouldn't be needed in a clan, why this would come in handy. They're confident in their ability to fix things. They want to rise to the challenge of problems. So you can kind of see, they know intuitively without that without them, this thing might have ceased to function. They're the ones who fix it. They resuscitate it. They do not give up either. They're and that's kind of where their rut can come in, is where they're excessively self-critical. I don't know why the font is different. We got to fix that too. They're excessively self-critical, and because they're the problem, or they're always looking for problems in themselves. I know some people have to hop off, but I just want to finish this so it'll be on the recording. And so they will always feel like there's something wrong with them, and they're not good enough if they're not careful. But you can see the purpose. You can read through all of that and the themes there. So I'll stop there. I know y'all have, thanks for sticking with me. If you have to jump off, any of you, I totally get it. I don't want to mess up your schedules any more than I already did. But I think we got through all of them. Any reactions before we go, if you have time for a reaction or two from talking through these and the patterns?
Jen Taylor is one of my favorite restorative people.
All right.
You have an aura of restoration around you. I love it.
What do you respond to that, Jen? Sorry, we didn't get to give your theme the full value, but I'm trying to share the your top fives. But what are your reactions to it?
So I was actually just flipping back to my 34. For some of them, I'm surprised at where they land for me. Like I noticed that with deliberative, and then I think restorative was like in the middle for me.
Oh,
okay.
I was confusing your harmony for your restorative
Oh,
because
right on.
I teach restorative yoga and it's very healing and you are very healing.
Some of them, so it's been really interesting when I see one where I'm like, whoa, I don't really get that about myself. When I read another piece, I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense if, you know, I see that one playing out too.
And yeah, very good. Yeah, and harmony and restorative can look a lot alike because they both want to restore, discord. They both want to, they both are very sensitive to discord or things that aren't working or that are disharmonious. So very good. Yes. So I think we got through all of them. And any other reactions before we dismount on it? All right, we'll see you next time. We will do, of course, the thinking themes. Yeah, thank you all. Great stuff. Talk to you later.